Welcome to the Storypreneur Podcast, where the art of storytelling meets the world of business and entrepreneurship.
On this show, we share tips and strategies on how you can communicate your message and offer in a way that not only attracts more leads, but also helps you speak with confidence and close more sales.
Whether you're a business owner, coach, speaker, or just someone looking to up their persuasion game, this podcast is for you.
Join us as we explore the power of storytelling and how it can help you stand out in today's crowded market, build better connections with your customers, and take your business to the next level.
Now, let's welcome your host, Deven Rodriguez.
All right, everybody, we are here with Angela Duncan. Angela, I'm so excited to speak with you because, listen, you know some stuff that I have no clue about when it comes to tax liens, short-term notes, just investing and multiplying money in general. I feel like you're definitely one of the go-to experts in this field. And you have your own podcast, the Empower Her Money podcast, which those of you that are listening, you absolutely have to check out that show. Are you still doing it daily, Angela?
I record 5 every Thursday so we can post Monday through Friday. Yes.
God bless your soul. For those of you listening, that takes an exorbitant amount of work. So Angela, thank you for being here today. It is really a pleasure. And where I want to start with is I want you to just give the audience a little background, because I know a little bit about your history, and you weren't always this financial expert who had it all together and could just teach people and show people and actually get people's money and multiply it like 10% in 90 days, like all these crazy things. It didn't always start there. So would you mind just kind of taking my audience a little bit back with you and help us discover where this passion of really, I should say, multiplying money came from?
Yeah. So I always start my story as a child. I am a survivor of childhood abuse and poverty. And what that means, poverty in the US is, I grew up on welfare and Section 8 housing. I moved more times than I can count. We lived in cars and other people's garages and motels, and I missed a ton of school. And I always thought that as a child, that if we had more money, then I wouldn't have had to go through all of those struggles that I did. So when I was 18 and moved out of the house, I went to college and I started to study money and just kind of learning what money is, how it can help people. And that's where my journey for the love of money had started.
So there's a lot of people that say, Angela, like, I really want to learn about money. I really want to, invest. I really want to earn more. I guess, what do you feel like, or maybe one of the biggest misconceptions people have when it comes to multiplying their money that doesn't really get talked about often, but is actually super important?
Yeah, I think people think that they have to continue to work harder and harder and harder for their money to work harder. And I believe the opposite. I believe that your money should be working hard for you. And you need to be able to learn and educate yourself enough on the investing platforms in order for you to do that, because there's so many ways that people can invest. There's ways that people can earn passive income, which just means money coming to you when you're investing. Instead of you having to, turn investing into a full-time job, there are ways and avenues for people to create that, financial freedom without having to work 7 days or 80-hour weeks. And it is very possible.
So we always hear people like Warren Buffett talk about, if you don't have any knowledge of investing and so forth, just put all your money into the S&P 500 and that's the best thing that you could possibly do. What's your thoughts on that? Do you think that if somebody wants to build wealth, that is the best avenue to go? Or are there other avenues that people should explore that maybe aren't as talked about that can produce greater results?
Yeah, I'm a firm believer in real estate. There are different avenues that you can invest within the real estate opportunities. And I think that most people, when they hear the type of returns that we're doing for our clients, they think it's too good to be true. And the reason why they think that is because Wall Street and people like Warren Buffett, who have done extremely well, but obviously has access to information that me as an average person does not, they believe that, 7, 8, 9% returns is the best you're going to get. And anything above that is going to be too good to be true. But it's what they've kind of brainwashed us to believe, and because that's what the stock market can do. But when you really start diving into different real estate opportunities, then the returns can be huge, and it really can be a passive income opportunity for you. But you just have to get to know and educate yourself more. And that's kind of, where we come in. But understanding who you are and where you want to invest is really important.
So, Angela, at what point does somebody consider investing? Because it's kind of like when I first started to learn about this types of stuff, and trust me, I'm no expert like you are, but it kind of felt overwhelming. Like, oh my God, I got to invest. The only way I'm going to make money is if I have, $1 million to invest or something like that. So specifically, let's talk about the real estate space in which you operate. What type of money does someone need to have liquid in order for them to really begin to, I guess, make a dent in their passive income portfolio? What would you recommend for that?
Yeah. So first, I want to tell you a story about my first investment. When I was 18 years old, I walked into a bank and I really wanted to start investing. So one, I had to take action, right? I walked into that bank. I sat down with the banker, probably 5 minutes or less. She handed me a pamphlet and I mailed my check in. And by the end of the year, I had lost 20% of my investment. And the reason why I tell you this is a few things. One, the person who I asked questions to didn't spend nearly enough time with me in order to understand my investing. And two, I lost money. I was not educated. I did not find the right mentor. I did not find the right opportunity. And I felt ashamed. I felt stupid. And most people have gone through that before. But the thing that I learned is I had to get more education. And I needed for this not to stop me from doing it again, because sometimes when people invest or they have an opportunity and they lose money, they're quiet about it, right? They don't want to tell people that they lost money. They feel bad about it, and then they never do it again. And so I've lost money in the stock market. I've lost money in real estate, but it's so important for us to become educated. And so the first thing that I always tell people is figure out where you want to invest. If real estate is where you want to invest, one of the things that we focus on is tax liens. And so I first want to take the time with someone and educate them about what that is. What is a tax lien? What does it entail? And help people understand that they can go do this on their own, but to have a mentor and a coach and someone to help them along the way, because maybe they're too busy in their lives. This is where we can come in and we can help them create wealth and income in the double digits. But first, I want to sit down, get to know the client first, make sure that they are the right person for this opportunity. And if not, at least give them some education so that when they are ready, then they can come back to me and we can partner and I can help them create income.
So to dive into the tax lien piece, and I know that you have some crazy stuff that you guys do for your clients in terms of returns and all of this. I'll tell you, I'm not going to lie to you, Angela. The first time I seen it, I said, this is too good to be true. This is too good to be true. But first off, what I want to do is understand what is a tax lien exactly? Because the first time I heard that, I saw some crazy guy on YouTube filming an ad and he was like, you should just buy other people's houses. And I was like, what did this dude just, I was so confused. So what exactly is a tax lien?
All right, I'll try and make this as simple as possible. There are tax liens and there are tax deeds. I'm going to take Florida because that's where I live. Florida is a tax lien state. What that means is if a property owner does not pay their property taxes, which are required by the county, then the county comes in and puts a lien on that property because the money that you were supposed to pay them for taxes, they've already have this in their budget. And let me tell you, police officers, teachers, paving roads, all of that needs to be done whether or not you as the homeowner pay your taxes or not. So the county comes in and they put a lien on your property and they take that lien and they sell it to investors like me. And when they sell it to me, they're guaranteeing an interest rate. So from Florida, for example, they pay 18%. However, they don't pay it until either the property owner pays their taxes or we foreclose on the property. That's when we get back. And it's a guaranteed rate. And I will tell you that a tax lien is first position. So if that homeowner has a mortgage, an HOA, a roof lien that they didn't pay for their roof, All of those are second in line. The government comes first because they're going to get their money before anybody else. And so that's why tax lien investing can be a little bit safer, because the government comes first. And when you have that first position, whatever equity is in that home when you foreclose is going to come to you first.
So Angela, with a tax lien, then the owner still owns the house technically? So they haven't... Explain that piece right there, because what I'm confused about is, so they didn't pay their property tax. Got it. So now they're going to put a lien on the house. So how do you come into play? And like, how exactly, can you dive into that a little more?
Yeah,
you have to explain this to me like I'm 5 years old, because I tend to need explanations like that. I was the kid in school where I asked 100 questions in class. It always worked out. So please share with us exactly how that process, or I guess what it looks like, because these are big words, Angela. These are big words.
Got it. I know I can talk forever about money and tax lien investing, and it just makes sense, but I've been studying it for 25 years, so I get it. So a tax lien is a lien or something that the property owner is going to owe, just like your mortgage. When you take a mortgage out, you're promising to repay it. When you buy a home, you're promising the county that you're going to pay your property taxes. So that's where that comes into play. Now, if I'm the investor and I come and buy that tax lien from the government, I have to wait 2 years in the state of Florida before I can foreclose on the property. And so there's so many things that we do that maybe the average person doesn't know what to do. But on a tax lien, we're driving by the property. I want to make sure that there's a house there. I don't want to buy dirt. I don't want to foreclose on dirt. I'm doing a lien search because outside of what I'm owed, I want to know if there's anybody else out there that has money that's going to be owed to them when I take this property. I also want to check county and code violations, because maybe they didn't cut their grass and now the county's got a violation I'm going to have to pay for. So there's lots of steps for us that we need to go through before we finish this foreclosure process. And we hope that the homeowner can come back and pay us for their taxes. But if they don't, unfortunately, we're going to go through the foreclosure process, which means then I can take that home or take title to that home, and then the homeowner no longer owns the home because they failed to pay their property taxes.
Got it. Okay, cool. So the government comes into play and says you did not pay your property tax, and now they say you're hit with this bill for not paying your property tax. Okay. So instead of the homeowner paying it, you come in and you pay it for the homeowner?
Correct. I'm going to pay it to the county, and they give me a piece of paper that says I own this tax lien. And when the homeowner finally pays their property taxes, I get my money back plus interest, because the homeowner is going to have to pay that penalty. Or if I really don't get paid back in those 2 years, then I'm going to take that home from the owner, and then they're going to have to find somewhere else to live.
Okay, got it. So how do you make money off this though? Okay, I heard interest. So yes. What does that interest look like exactly? So I heard 2 years they have in order to pay you back until you foreclose on the home. So how are you making money within those 2 years? Let's say they take the whole 2 years to pay it back. How are you making money within those 2 years?
You don't. If the homeowner does not pay your taxes back and you have to go through the foreclosure process, you don't get your money back, and you could literally be sitting there for 2 years. So Florida is not my favorite state to do tax lien investing. There are other states, for example, Illinois pays up to 36% interest. There are other states like Arkansas, where they have a 60-day foreclosure process. So obviously a lot shorter to when
60-day instead of 2 years?
Correct. They've already notified the homeowner, and if you don't pay it back, then I'm coming in and I'm going to grab the deed and take ownership of that property. So it varies from state to state. The interest rate varies from state to state. The foreclosure or redemption period it varies from state to state. So you've got to know the process, and you need to do your due diligence when you're thinking about doing tax lien investing. So
how frequently then, when somebody does not pay their property tax, how frequent, or I guess if you could throw a percentage on it, maybe, like 50-50, 60-40, how frequent does the person end up paying their property tax?
It depends on whether or not the homeowner lives in the property and it's their primary versus an investment. An investment property, we see a lot higher percentages of foreclosures happening, meaning They didn't pay it. They're not going to pay it. They walked away, and now I'm going to come grab the ownership of that. A homeowner, especially if there's a mortgage involved, is a much higher percentage that they're just going to pay it back, but maybe they're going to wait the year. Maybe they need to wait 2 years. They may have had a medical emergency or lost a job and just don't have the income yet to pay for it. But most of the times we see the homeowners pay it back, which is great, because if you don't want to own a property, fix it and flip it, and you're just in it for the passive part, which is the interest, then that's more of an ideal situation. But for us, the way that we make the most money is by foreclosing and taking ownership of that property, then selling that property for a bigger profit.
Okay, so you guys foreclose. And then why do you say that you make the most money when there's a foreclosure? Is that just because you're taking ownership of the property and then selling it? Or is there something more involved that I'm missing?
Yeah, no, it's because we take ownership of that property. Now, if they had a mortgage on the property and we foreclose, that mortgage is going to go after the homeowner. They can't have the property because I'm first in line with that tax lien. So they're going to go after the homeowner for the amount that's still due for the mortgage. I'm not responsible to pay for that. That's why the margins can be a little bit better when you foreclose. But again, you've got to do your due diligence, because there could be other issues with the property that you need to find out before you even buy that tax lien.
Got it. Okay, cool. Now that is what I'm talking about, breaking it down. You see, the pieces are starting to come together in my head. So this is cool. All right, I got it. Just out of curiosity, is there like a typical rate? It might vary by state, but like, let's say in Florida, if someone doesn't pay their property tax, is it like you're charged, 10% of the property tax, 30%? Is there like a standard rate for that, or does it vary?
Yeah. Florida can go up to 18%. So it depends. They do what's called an online auction. So every year they publish a list of properties that are behind or delinquent on their property taxes. Then us as the investors will choose which properties we're thinking about bidding on. And then we start our own due diligence, because we want to make sure we're doing the process and understand what we're buying before we even bid. And what's great about Florida system is you can go in and offer 10% interest instead of 18, which means other people may be bidding more for that higher interest rate. But does the county want to pay 18, or do they want to pay the 10 that I'm offering? So they're most likely going to go with the lower interest rate. And I'm sorry if that confused you, but you can go into the system, bid on a lien, and tell the county how much interest you want to be paid. They're going to go by and figure out who's going to be paying the least amount of interest.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And then they're going to award us that tax lien. Millions and millions of dollars go up for auction every year just in the state of Florida. That's incredible if you think about how much buying opportunity there is. But we're a fund, and about 80% of those tax liens go to a fund like us because we're buying them in bulk. And it's easier for the county to deal with one purchaser selling many property liens versus one individual person buying one individual lien. So know that you're going to have some competition, but definitely if you're going to go down this route, do your due diligence, learn the process, and start in your own backyard driving by properties so you understand what it is that you're going to be buying.
All right, cool. So someone could do this on their own. Am I correct?
Yes, you could. Absolutely.
Okay. Now I also know that you have a fund. I want you to talk a little bit about this fund, because there are some of like the returns that you mentioned to me a few weeks back when we spoke. And I was like, what? It's like, what are the types of results that people that are leveraging the fund that you have available for investors? Number one, who is it for? Okay, because I'm sure it's not for just anybody off the street that has $5. So number one, who is the fund for? And number two, like, what is it?
Yes, good question. So first you touched on like the individual person. We already said state of Florida, you could earn up to 18%, but there's a lot of work involved and potentially a lot of fees if you have to foreclose on a property. So 18% is your max that you could earn in Florida. Then you may come out of pocket depending if you have to foreclose. If you go the fund route, which is where we come in and we do all of that work for you, all the lien searches and title searches and driving by properties, all the time invested, we do all of that for you. And in our specific fund, when you invest in our fund, it is a 3-year hold, but we're paying you 22%. It's a contract. We're paying you 22% every single year. And you as the investor have to do none of the work, none of the due diligence, none of the drive-bys, none of the money to the attorneys and the lien searches. 22% is your contract amount. That's what we're going to pay you for the money that you're investing, but it is a 3-year hold. So the type of investor, you have money sitting aside, or you have money that maybe is sitting in an IRA account that you haven't done much with. You can put that money to work and let it grow for you for 3 years. But if you think you're going to need the money in a year, 90 days, this is not going to be the right opportunity for you because it is locked in for 3 years. So that's why we say like retirement accounts, great opportunity because you're setting it aside and you may have many years before you retire. This is going to be a midterm investment. So for those that are okay locking their money up for 3 years, it's a perfect opportunity for you to have passive income. Go work your job, go help your family, go run your business, and let us do all the hard work behind the tax liens and know that the money is working hard for you just because you've worked really hard for your money. So it should be working hard for you too.
Okay. So I invest in that fund and it compounds at 22% annually, and that's guaranteed. Am I hearing that correctly?
Yes, it is a contract between you and our fund, and we are guaranteeing you 22%.
Okay, cool. And then is there a minimum investment?
There is a minimum investment. This is $25,000 for this specific fund. And so, first I want to sit down and go over your whole financial picture because I want to make sure, one, that you understand what this is. And two, this is not every penny that you have to invest. This should be part of your portfolio. But if your goals are long-term, it's a great opportunity for you to just let that money multiply while you are busy running your life.
Sure. Okay. I got you. Sounds good. So let me ask you then because 22% annually, that's like double, if not 2.5 times the normal S&P 500 rate. So what that tells me is that your fund, you guys can afford to take that kind of risk, I guess you can say, for paying that type of annual interest rate. So how is the fund so secure in and of itself that you guys can afford to pay 22%? Because if I'm a listener and I'm listening to this right now, I'm thinking like, how is that even possible? So like, how is the fund so secure that you guys are able to produce such results?
Yeah. So I mentioned that Florida is 18%, right? Florida is not our ideal candidate for looking for tax liens. We're going to look for the states that pay more and that have more opportunities for us to foreclose and earn a lot more than 22%. So I mentioned Illinois is up to 36%. So if we're paying you 22, we could potentially be earning 36. There's a profit. Then if we foreclose and have to flip the property, there's a profit. Many of the states like Iowa, I mentioned Arkansas has a 2-month redemption or 2-month foreclosure period. So we're specifically targeting states that pay higher interest rates or have a short foreclosure time period so that we can get that money back quickly,
right,
turn it around and just keep doing it over and over.
That makes sense. So regardless, if there's a 60-day window, let's say, it's Illinois or which I forgot exactly which state. Let's say you guys foreclose.
Yes.
Now my money is still being held for 3 years.
Yours is, yes, because what you're allowing us to do, say, for example, Arkansas has got the 2-month foreclosure. So if we buy the tax lien or the tax deed and we're taking the 2 months, we sell the property, say all together, it takes us 4 or 5 months. Now we can go do it again. So we want to know that there's enough money in the fund for us to continue to go after properties constantly and doing the flips and doing the foreclosure constantly so that we can project how much potentially we may have to pay out, right? So we budget it to do it annually. We budget it for you to stay in 3 years so that we can understand how much cash is available for us to go out and do what we need to do.
Got it. Okay, cool. That makes sense. And Angela, what's the name of the fund?
It is called the Core Fund. And so if you hit my website, morewithangela.com, my brochure is there. All the information is there. And that's the first opportunity for you to learn more about what we're doing. And even from that website, you can schedule a call directly with me, not some assistant. You're going to get me directly. I'm going to sit down, explain this, go over your financial information, and determine together whether or not this is going to be a right fit for you.
Okay, sweet. Now, can I enter the conversation that's going on in my listener's mind right now?
Sure.
So every type of investment, at least from my understanding, I'm not the money expert like you. There's some form of risk involved. However, like what you're saying is like 22% annually guaranteed contract, whole 9 yards. So like, what is the risk that I take when I invest my 25,000, I'm assuming at a minimum, into this fund? What is the actual risk that I'm taking?
Yeah. So understand that the fund itself, we have tax liens, right? So our liens are backed by actual real estate. What is the risk? Yes, we're heading into an election year, right? The chances of every state changing their tax lien laws at the same time would be very, very small. But say, for example, Arkansas came in and changed their foreclosure law. Now we're going to adjust and go to a different state. So our fund might have to change if actual laws are changed. But for the most part, we're first in line. The government is guaranteeing our interest rate. And these laws have been in place for decades for us to be able to have this opportunity because the government needs that money for their budget. They can print money, sure, but that's not going to go to their actual budget. And that's where investors like us help keep the government going by giving them the money they need in order to run their budget and to pay for the budget and the expenses that they have as a county.
Okay, cool. So it's pretty much if the states change their laws or whatever the case may be, and you guys pretty much aren't able to be as profitable as usual. I mean, ultimately it comes down worst case scenario, right?
Right.
Like the fund runs out of money pretty much is like the absolute worst thing that could happen, which by the way, if you guys are listening, I am not saying that that's happening, but I'm just saying I like the very worst case scenario. Like that's the risk I'm taking, right? Am I hearing? Okay, cool. Got it. Sounds good. All right. So I got a really great understanding now of tax liens. I want to touch on one other area before we go that I know you're an absolute master in, and that is budgeting. So I want you to talk to me. Can you kind of be my mentor for a second?
Sure.
Okay. So I want you to I just want to have a discussion about how I set my budget, because I've probably spent like $2,000 in like the past 30 days on restaurants. Okay. And you probably don't approve of that. Okay, you probably don't. You probably telling me I got to go to shop more and all of these. I don't want to hear it though, Angela. I like my food. But in all seriousness, kind of help me out. Like, where do I start with creating a budget that, this is a key point, allows me to enjoy my life, but also will help protect my money?
Yeah, I love this question. And I'll tell you, Deven, I don't cook. So between gas and eating out, it's one of my largest budget items.
Yes.
So the first thing, if you haven't done this exercise before, is, and I'm a paper person, so if you have to go to like FedEx and you don't have a printer, I want you to print out 3 months of your bank statements and your credit card statements. Why? Because you cannot set a budget until you understand, one, what money's coming in, and two, where the heck are you spending your money? I hear so many people say, like, I make X amount. I have no idea where it goes. It's because they've never paid attention to it. So first, print out your statements, take a look at where you're spending money. When it's in your face and it becomes visible, that's where the real change starts to happen. So know what you're spending money on. A few recommendations. What's the app? Oh, Rocket Money is a great app for people who have subscriptions. I don't subscribe to Hulu, Netflix, or any of those things anymore, but Rocket Money allows you to put your credit card and your bank information, and they make a list of all your current subscriptions, whether they're annually, monthly, whatever it is. Again, it's in your face. Scroll through those subscriptions. What do you really need? What can you cut out of your budget so that you can take that extra money and put it towards investing? Look at all of those things. And the great thing about that app is it will not only show you what your subscriptions are, but if you don't want them anymore, it's going to help you cancel it too. So make it as easy as possible. Of course, they've got your information. They're probably going to spam you with emails, but use a spam account if you can. But that's number one. Number two, for someone like you, if you don't mind, there's an app called Card Cash. And what it does is it brings buyers and sellers of gift cards together. You know, Olive Garden, Seasons 52, whatever chain restaurants you might be eating out at, check out the app. I'm a huge Starbucks person. Unfortunately, it is a habit I just haven't been able to kick. I can buy a Starbucks app or a Starbucks gift card any day during on the app, and I can save 7%. So again, I'm looking for ways to live the lifestyle I want, but who said I had to pay full price for it? Why can't I find a few ways to save some money on what I'm already doing so that I can still live that life, but now I'm saving a little bit and I'm putting it towards that passive income opportunity to create more income to continue to live the lifestyle that I want to live.
All right, Angela. Here comes the big one. I want a Lamborghini. Okay. So let me ask you, from a budgetary standpoint, if that's even a word, at what point can someone seriously consider buying a $300,000 car? Like, is there a certain income, like, is it like I don't know, no more than 20% of my or 10% of my income goes to my vehicle? Not sure, right? I know Dave Ramsey has all his things, pay cash, whatever. I'm not paying cash. I don't like putting anything down. Okay, that's just how I roll. But something tells me, since I've never bought a car that expensive, I'm going to have to put at least like 20% down. So that's going to definitely hurt. But like, at what point can someone actually consider, okay, like now I want to do something silly like buy a $300,000 car? And don't tell me I don't need one, Angela, because I do.
Yeah. So you've already at this point obviously looked at your budget, because you're not going to go out and buy that kind of car without having a budget in place first. So what are you willing to give up in order to fit that car payment and insurance into your budget? So make it into your budget first. And as you're saving for that down payment, if you put it in your budget now and just take what would be your car payment and your insurance, put it in a savings account so that you're saving that down payment. And once you have enough in the savings account, then go buy it. It's already in your budget and you've been practicing that monthly payment, that monthly insurance payments already for months while you're doing that down payment. But again, if this is what's going to make you happy and your income can support it, and you cut out maybe some other junk that you don't, maybe you forego a vacation this year, what are you willing to trade off in order to get the car? And make sure you talk to your tax strategist to see if there's anything that you could be doing from a business perspective that maybe you're not writing off, that you just don't know about because you met with a CPA and not a tax strategist.
What's the difference?
Huge difference. Most CPAs, you hand them your books and they file your taxes. They don't give you advice. They don't really get to know you and your business to understand what tax codes. I mean, keep in mind, the IRS has made thousands of tax codes, right? They put them out there for you to use, but if you don't have someone who understands them and can teach you about them, then you're not going to know what you can and cannot legally deduct, right? So a tax strategist gets to know you and understands the tax code and gives you advice so that you know what you should be tracking, what you could write off. Say there's a law that's going to be expiring, which we recently had, then they're going to tell you how to use it before the expiration, whereas a CPA is just going to collect data and file a report for you, and they're not going to give you recommendations to help you and your business save more money.
That's really good. That's a really good tip there. By the way, which law recently expired?
The bonus depreciation law for real estate. It expired in 2022. It's working on getting extended for a year, but I don't think the current president liked the previous president laws, so I don't know that it's going to be extended.
Ooh, okay. All right. I got you. This is really interesting. This has me thinking. All right. Another selfish question. Savings accounts. Do you recommend such things?
I do. When you look at what your true expenses are, I do believe that Dave Ramsey hit this one on the head where he said, put a couple months away of savings because you're going to need it. You're going to use it and then you're going to replenish it. So if you don't currently have like a financial advisor, then most likely you're going to go to your bank and look for savings. But if you go to bankrate.com, it shows all of the current major banks and what they're paying. For example, public.com is one that I listen to and hear about a lot on podcasts. I've seen them offer the highest percentage for money you're just keeping liquid. This is money you just need to keep liquid for like 90 days at a time. That's all I want you to put there, because everything else we can put to work and we can earn you money so that you can continue to have that money just in case for that rainy day.
So what was that? I heard got bankrate.com. What was the second one you said?
Yeah, so bankrate.com lets you go and look at different savings accounts and what they're currently paying. Public.com is a website where you can go put your money for savings. And that's been the highest one that I've seen recently, just for liquid funds.
Got it. Okay. Whew. It's a lot of stuff. I got a lot of homework to do. You taking me to school today, Angela. This is no joke. This is hot and heavy. All right, cool. So we covered tax liens. We covered some misconceptions people have when it comes to different types of investing. And then we covered like the budget, some really, really awesome tips. I love what you said about printing out your last 3 bank statements. I think that that's gold. Let me ask you this. I don't know if this is a challenge per se, but I have to ask. I heard you say, if I want the Lamborghini, I'm going to have to give something up. Do I really have to? See, here's the thing. Here's why I ask you this. Do you think, and this might be like more of a mindset thing. Do you feel like sometimes if we want to enjoy greater things in life or whatever it is for some people, do you feel like sometimes it just comes down to increasing our active and like our active, and if I want to make more money, I need to do it actively. I understand passive income, but what about my active income? So do you feel like it's always necessary that I have to sacrifice my way to get my Lamborghini? Or do you feel like there is a way that I can enjoy both?
Yeah, I do think there's a way for you to enjoy both, but I don't like the word sacrifice. For me, if my budget is set and I am spending or investing all the extra income, right? And now you're going to take that extra income from investing and put it in a car that's depreciating asset if you don't buy it correctly, right? For me, I'm going to do a trade-off. It's trading just like you trade time for money when you work or have a business. I'm trading something within my budget to get that car. For example, I bought a G-Wagon a couple years ago. I paid cash for it because I'm a very conservative person. And
even cash?
I did. And even though I know I can earn more money, I know myself and I just felt more comfortable paying cash, not having a car payment. So it's not in my budget. But I really wanted the car. So I didn't have to adjust my budget. It was money that I already had invested, pulled it out, bought the G-Wagon, and now I'm still making passive income on everything that I'm doing today because I don't have a car payment. That was me. I wanted to go into it and just make sure that I felt comfortable buying it. Maybe you're different. Maybe you're going to go and make much more money so that you can put that car payment in your budget and not have to take anything else. So you're going to have to think about who you are and what you want to do with your own budget, with your own money. I decided to pay cash. You might go get a loan. Maybe you don't have to change anything in your budget, but it's going to come down to the individual preference.
Okay. And last thing I'll ask you about, what's your take on credit cards? And are there any credit cards that you recommend people get to really leverage?
Yes. So depends on your business and what you do. If you travel a lot, you definitely want a travel card. I believe in paying off my credit card every month. If you are looking to get a loan soon, so say, for example, you're thinking about getting a car, getting a house, one of the tricks you can do is pay your credit card off every week. Because what happens is, say, for example, you are in the habit of charging $20,000 on your credit card every month. If you don't pay it off until the monthly cycle comes, then it might hurt your credit score a little bit because that credit card is saying you're using so much of your credit limit, which is what brings your rate or brings your credit score down. So if you're looking to get a loan, pay it off weekly, and that's going to boost your credit score. Just the way that it works. I don't want to get into the weeds of it, but if you're looking for the loan, pay it off weekly. But if you have something specific in your business, I have a credit card just for gas because it gives me 5% on
What's that one?
Gas. That's a PNC card. It's a green card on their website. I forget which one it's called, but it's green. And I use that just for gas. When I travel, I love JetBlue. So I use my JetBlue for all my traveling. It gives me a discount plus points and rewards. So I use it for that. Everyday stuff, I'm an Amex Platinum because it might have a larger fee, but there's so many other things it gives me credits for that I totally forget about until I see my statement. And it's just the best card that works for me. For my ladies out there, there's a card. My girl, Verinda Gupta, has this card. It's called the Sequin card. So sequincard.com. It's pink. You can put a quote on it and it actually gives you cash back on women items that we call our being pink tax, which we'll save for a whole other episode. But this is the way that we counteract the pink tax, is we're giving you, or the card is giving you rebates and cash back based on your purchases there.
That's good. I like that. That PNC card. I got to check that out. Cool. Listen, Angela, we've covered a whole lot of stuff here. I think I learned more in 40 minutes about money than I did in my 4 years of college. And I'm not saying that just to blow smoke. I genuinely mean that. This was a really interesting conversation. So thank you so very much. Last thing I want to give you the opportunity to do, Angela, is if somebody wants to learn more about your fund, what you have available, or they simply want to shoot you a message and ask you some questions about what we talked about here today, what do you have for the audience? Is there anything that you would like them to do, where you want them to go, et cetera, to best connect with you?
Yes, if you want to know specifics on the fund, reach out to me with questions on the fund, morewithangela.com. But if you're curious to find out what kind of investor you are, I love doing quizzes. If you go to Empower Her Money on Instagram, just message me quiz. I'm going to send you the link. You can figure out what kind of investor you are. And if passive income is your route, then I definitely want to connect with you and help you with your goal.
Sweet. Say that Instagram one more time. I want to make sure people don't miss it.
Yes, Empower Her Money. So follow me first, then message me quiz, because otherwise I might get in the spam and then I forget to check that darn folder.
Oh, trust me, I know. Well, Angela, thank you so much. This has been an awesome episode, and I cannot wait to do a round 2 where I got a lot more questions I got to ask you, girl.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to the Storypreneur Podcast.
We hope you enjoyed the tips and strategies shared today and are feeling inspired to take your storytelling to the next level.
My friend, it's time to share your messages in a way that enables you to stand out from the crowd, have a massive impact, and dominate your industry.
All it takes is having a story and knowing how to deliver it. Before you go, we'd really appreciate it if you share this episode with a fellow business owner who you know needs to become a storypreneur.
Thanks for being part of our family, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you so much for tuning into Empower Her Money podcast. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to subscribe, share this podcast, and leave a review wherever you are tuning in.